Okay.
So this is the summary of the.
Okay, so this we were in Gyor, and so this was in the morning. This is Sunday, September the 29th.
Day 2 of my participation in the journey.
That's right.
Yeah.
So this was breakfast at the Fonte Hotel. And not only did we have the best room ever in our Danube ride in Gyor, but we also had the best breakfast. That is, up until the time Al made our breakfast for us. Bacon and eggs and a good variety of meats and cheese to fuel our bodies for the day ahead. After a wonderful breakfast, it was hard to say goodbye to the Fonte Hotel. We enjoyed a visit with the Gyor street vendors before heading into the country. And David, you're welcome to make comments whenever you want to.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember those street vendors. It looks a lot like in Sturovo, but it's a completely different place.
So there were street vendors a lot of places where we went, and a lot of places they had like they were serving food out in the courtyard. Well, yeah. And they were doing that in Brno too when we came there.
Like all of these places have like little festivals as well. Like they might have like a sugar, like I don't know, some sort of like a beet festival or a blueberry festival or something like that.
Oh yeah, well we're getting to one either today or tomorrow.
I think that's at the end of this day actually.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Stan, could you perhaps hit full screen?
Oh yeah, of course. Full screen. You don't see full screen? Oh. Let's see. Oh. Yeah, oh yeah, let's see. Oh, there. That's better. Is it? How does that look now?
I think that's better. Yeah.
Gyor is a major industrial city. Virtually all the BMW engines are made here.
Stan, are you sure it's BMW and not Audi?
Oh, you know what? No, I'm pretty sure it's BMW. But I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's that, but you can research that if you like.
Well, maybe I'll just look it up in parallel as you're.
Yeah, okay. So we followed the left bank of the Danube and soon reached the industrial city of Komarom. It looks like it's a major transportation hub. It doesn't look that different from the rail yard. That's just a kilometer from my house here in Sarnia. So rail is still really, really important in Europe. So we crossed a very long arch steel bridge to the twin city of Komarno, Slovakia. And the river was really, really wide here. And so you don't see a whole lot of bridges anymore, except in the major cities. Yeah.
The river goes right along the border for a long way.
Yeah, the river is the border, isn't it?
So it's actually possible to follow the Danube on either the Hungarian side or the Slovakian side.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we switched back and forth a number of times. So now we're switching
back to Slovakia.
We're going to the Slovakian side. So we hadn't been to Slovakia since we were in Bratislava, and now we're going back into Slovakia. Now, it seems to me in Slovakia, they use the euro, and in Hungary they don't? Or is it true? Is it the other way around?
No, that's true.
There was a bit of issue with currency, I know, in some of these countries that didn't use the euro. So yes, coming into Slovakia. So here we see the sign. So here's myself and David relaxing. and Al and David. And meanwhile, I was doing something else.
This is after about 40 kilometers of biking, I think, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
So it was nice to stop at a pub for a break from the cycling. And the Danube looked so inviting, so I cooled off with a nice swim. So I think this was my second time swimming in the Danube.
I don't think anybody thought you were actually going to really go into the water, but you did.
I was the only one down there. Like, I don't know why people don't swim there.
It must have been really cold.
Well, I didn't think it was cold. Like, it was warmer, definitely warmer than Lake Superior.
Probably not by much.
Well, it was fine.
It was good.
And here is a drink that I never had before in my life. Bursak. So David, maybe you know something about it.
I was really looking forward to showing you guys Burčak and what it's all about, because it's only available for about 2 weeks during the whole year.
And what is it?
Well, it's basically half fermented wine. It's basically wine that's kind of taken out of the production process before it's been fully fermented into wine. So it's got a low alcohol content and a very high sugar and it's a very yeasty taste, because there's the yeast is still active and fermenting in it. So it's a murky, muddy looking sort of drink that's kind of yellowish brown in color if it comes from white wine, and it's just kind of a muddy purplish color if it comes from red wine.
Yeah, it probably doesn't look as nice as wine, but it tasted pretty good. I guess it's not something that's sold in stores, is it? Like, we just got it.
No, you can basically only buy it either from the farmers or from special stores that sell like from wine stores and things like that specialize.
Oh, okay. But I don't think it's
available. Buy it bottled. Like, you'd have to probably bring a plastic bottle and they'll just like fill it up for you or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, it was an interesting
what we did,
experience.
basically. He gave us, I think, 2 plastic bottles full of Burčak.
Mm-hmm.
This farmer named Tibor.
Yeah, he was very proud of it. And he really was glad that we could try it. So some more street vendors here. Now this is coming into Starovo, Slovakia. Starovo, and they were having their squash festival. So like squash, like this to me looks like a pumpkin, but I think they call pumpkin squash over there.
I think they use the same word for both of them, actually. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, maybe it's in the same family. I don't know, like, the colors.
Well, they're in the same family anyway. There's actually, in the Czech language, there's a separate word for pumpkin, but I don't know in the Slovak language.
Yeah. So they had all sorts of crafts there, and the people there are very creative in making these crafts. And not only did they have crafts, but they had a nice variety of preserves and foods that they had made too. So we were really very hungry by now, and David is stopping there to get some Slovakian cuisine that's homemade that they're selling there at the Squash Festival. And actually, Al and we did as well. And so it was really, really, really tasty. Then we went across the river to the Hungarian side, and so into the city of Esztergom, Hungary, and we soon found the Kaleidoscope Hostel. So I guess that's what it is in Hungarian. And there was also an art gallery or something in there as well, but there was a hostel there. And it looks a bit ratty on the outside. It looks kind of run down, but it was really a very nice place. And so here we see the inside of it, and like a big room with a very high ceiling and big windows and curtains on the windows, and yeah, very, very spacious. And then there was a kitchen there that we could use as well. So that ended the day of September the 29th, Sunday. And then here we are.
That was about an 80 or 90 kilometer ride. Yeah.
80 or 90K that day?
Yeah, I think that was a fairly long ride, wasn't it?
Oh, well, I don't know. Yeah, that's not long for you, is it?
Wow. I
But
managed it.
it was a
somehow.
very nice ride.
Yeah.
So here we are in the kitchen. It's a really high room. It kind of doesn't look a whole lot like my kitchen, but it has some atmosphere to it. Lots of artwork on it. And Al, I think you made this breakfast, didn't you?
If you ate it, I made it.
Yeah, I thought so. And was it bacon and eggs?
I can still taste it.
Yeah. So was it not bacon and eggs?
Your memory's better than mine, Stan.
I think it was. As I recall.
I know it wasn't cornflakes.
No, that's right. So I think we went out shopping nearby and bought some eggs and things for the breakfast. And so there was a very nice kitchen there. And you, Al, I believe you made the breakfast that day, and it was really, really good. And here's David with his new, I think these are your new sunglasses.
Well, yeah, because the original sunglasses that I had, I lost them just outside of Bratislava somewhere. I somehow stopped.
Yeah, that's right.
Put the sunglasses on the seat of my bike. And
Yeah.
then when I drove off again, I guess they just fell off into the grass on the side of the trail or something like that.
Yeah.
We spent like a half hour looking for them, and it was just.
Yeah. And so as I recall, we spent most of the morning going to shops in Esztergom until you find a pair that was suitable
I think we
for
spent
you.
most of the morning actually looking in the mirrors to see if these were the best glasses for me, or if I should get some other pair or whatever.
So these are the ones that you got that morning, right? I think in a bike shop in Esztergom. Is that right?
It's these ones.
Are these ones you got?
These are the ones here. I've
Yeah.
just changed the lenses on them. I've got more yellow lenses on them now.
Oh, so you still use these?
They've got 3 sets of lenses.
Oh, okay.
I
For
think
bright
we must have
light,
tried on 20
foggy
pair.
weather, and for dim light, they've got there's completely clear ones.
Mhm. So Esztergom is a very old city, and it's famous for the basilica. And so here we see the basilica. That's only you see part of it because it's kind of being restored right now. It's the largest church in Hungary, but certainly not the oldest. It's not super old, built between 1822 and 1869, so over a period of 40 some years. Some of the churches were built over a period of several hundred years, but this is much newer than a lot of churches there. But it's the biggest church in Hungary, bigger than anything in Budapest. It has giant arches, and the dome has a height of 72 meters. And the sound, there's an enormous bell, I think, in this tower, and it can be heard from many kilometers away. So it's a very big bell that makes a lot of sound. And oh yeah, this is another picture on the outside. And there's also like an old fortress nearby.
It's really impressive.
Castle.
You can actually see it from across the river in Slovakia, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
actually, I have a picture later on that shows that one as well.
Mhm.
So these pictures are all of the outside of it. It's a beautiful structure, a very magnificent dome. And then I have a few pictures here on the inside, and you can see the high dome there, and just a beautiful structure and great artwork on the ceiling.
But I don't even think this picture is under the main dome. I think the main dome itself was under construction.
I think you're right. Yeah, I don't think we got in that
I think
part,
it's in
did
a
we?
different part of the church. Like this is actually the small part of the church. The part with
Right.
the dome over it.
Yeah, so we couldn't get in the big
visible for
part,
some
could we?
reason. Like normally you can go up there and there's some sort of a catwalk, and you can walk around sort of at the edge of the dome.
Oh
But that
yeah,
one
we
is
couldn't
closed
do
off.
that because it was super windy. Remember?
Yeah, they had it closed off because of the wind. There was
Yeah,
like
there was a
gale force
huge
winds
windstorm.
that day.
And there were branches down in the pathways and stuff like that too. As we
Yeah,
went
yeah.
for a walk.
And just as a matter of coincidence, we had decided ahead of time to spend an extra day in Esztergom and not bike that day.
Uh-huh.
And that was a good choice, as it turned out, because it was so windy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So we didn't get inside the biggest part of the church, eh?
It was closed off because of the wind. I think
Oh,
it
yeah,
would have been considered dangerous.
yeah. Huh. Oh, I know we couldn't walk around it, but couldn't we go in? Why couldn't we go inside it? I don't know.
Well, we went into the church, but the section under the huge dome for some reason was closed off.
Yeah, that's right.
There was a lot of construction going on outside too.
Oh, there was. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a lot of construction going on. So this is part of the interior. Yeah, I'm not quite sure where that's depicting.
Well, I think that's depicting the Assumption of Mary. Like the church itself is called the
Okay.
Basilica of the Assumption of the Virgin Mary.
Oh, okay. And
So
like
I
they
think
believe.
that's what it's. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, there's a bit of research that.
So it's like her entering, going directly from earth into heaven, I guess.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, maybe they believe that she didn't die. She was taken into heaven, perhaps. And so, oh yeah, there she is. That's her. That's the prominent thing at the front of this. So this is, I guess, just one of the chapels that's there. Well, here this shows some of the ruins below the basilica, the ruins of the castle. This is really a whole lot older.
The original basilica was actually dated back in, like I've got it in front of me here as 1543. The original basilica.
Oh,
was,
the original.
Yeah, the one that was built in 1822 is the one we visited, the big.
Oh, okay.
Church.
So the other one
Actually,
was
an older one there that was destroyed in the Turkish wars, and that's.
Oh, okay.
These are the walls surrounding the original basilica.
Yeah. So apparently this castle, the remains of this castle was built during the Ottoman period. So yeah, was that, I'm not sure. Does that go back to about the year 1100 or something, or? I'm not sure. But anyhow, most parts of the palace were explored and restored in the period between 1934 and 1938. A lot of it apparently was underground, under debris, and they dug it out. And there's still archaeological excavations taking place there. And so we walked across the bridge to Slovakia and got this picture of the basilica and the castle from the other side. So that's really where you get the best views from a distance. And you can see the magnificence of the basilica.
That's
and
taken
the
from
remains.
the middle of the bridge, isn't it?
From the middle, yeah, it's probably taken exactly from the bridge. Yeah, I think you're right.
Because we're up pretty
And
high
then
there.
we returned back to Esztergom, back to the hostel, and David still had a lot of energy left. So he persuaded me to do a 5-kilometer run through the city. And I guess it was getting dark by the time we ended that. I think this is at the end of the
It was
run.
getting dark by the time we got back, but it wasn't that dark. But we wanted to get the perfect picture, so we spent like about a half hour taking all these pictures.
Oh,
And
that's
then by
right.
the time we got the perfect picture, it was actually pretty dark.
And I think Katrine, she was there, and she took these pictures, didn't she?
Yeah, she was really patient because
That's right.
We would go down the street and then run towards her, and then we'd say, "No, that was really crappy. Let's do it again." And then we were doing that for like half an hour, and she was like really patient, taking these pictures over and over again.
Yeah. So did she take these pictures with her phone?
I think she took. Well, I've got a bunch of pictures in my phone actually. I think she took some with her phone and some with my phone, and she probably sent this to you from her phone or something like that.
Yeah, I know she was.
I've got a whole bunch more in my phone that.
Oh, do you? Oh, okay. Yeah, I just have one. Anyhow,
I got a question, Stan.
Yeah, sure.
The two of you ran 5K back and forth down the street while she took pictures. Is that right?
Yeah, we did 5K and then we probably did another K.
Yeah, we probably did 5K in the city, and then about another 5K as she was taking pictures of us.
There you go.
So this is the map of what we did the next day. So we were in Esztergom, and then we went along the Hungarian side of the Danube River to
Yeah, that was about, it was
whatever
about
it was.
10
And
or
then we
15
crossed over to the Slovakian side.
Yeah.
So we had to, well, we had a breakfast in the kitchen there. And as I recall, did I make the breakfast that day? Anyhow, we had breakfast and then we hurried off to get to the ferry crossing at, I'm not sure how to say this, Zob? Is that what you say, David?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, Zob. And so we're here at the ferry crossing. We made it in time and we were soon ready to sail. Ferries sail, even though they don't have sails on them. And we had an enjoyable ride close to the Danube on the Slovakian side after that. So here oh, this is Sob on the Slovakian side.
Soap.
So
I think it's called soap.
So here we are going along the river on the Slovakian side. I think on this side, it's not as good a path. So it's better to go on the Slovakian side here.
Yeah, somehow the guides convinced us to go on the Slovakian side again. So
yeah, I mean, you know, Danube bike ride isn't just a single path. There's lots of alternative paths so you can go one side or the other.
Well,
So
I think on the Hungarian side, the path wasn't right next to the river, and we sort of were preferring the path that was like sort of almost like following the river directly.
Yeah, so I think this
on the
was
Hungarian side. Somehow the available roads kind of got kind of far from the Danube. For some
well,
reason.
sometimes on the one
They are
side.
correct. This is already past the Ipoly River, and that's Hungarian both sides.
Oh, is this Hungary on both sides here?
Yeah,
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
because
that's
Ipoly River,
that's Slovakia, but now we're to Hungary. This is Hungary now.
Yeah, that's
Hungary.
you're right. You're completely right.
Oh, okay, good to know that. So we soon reached the town of Nagy Myros and had a coffee as we waited for the ferry back to the other side. Oh, yeah, and here we are, having some coffee. And here's the ferry boat. So this was a bigger boat than a lot of ferry boats. This one, you know, would have taken trucks on it too. And here we are, Katrine, the one who was our photographer. She was also on her way to Budapest. Now, she was staying at the hostel where we had stayed too. So we knew that she was coming here, but we weren't sure. We were a bit surprised to meet her at the ferry. And so here we crossed the Danube and we reached, is it Vash? And then from here we continued on our way to Budapest, traveling on busy highways much of the way. We had virtually no issues with the bikes, but as we headed into Budapest, both Al and David had flat tires almost at the same time. So Al is going to tell us the rest of the story. And hopefully I'll stop share. And Al?
I will screen share.
You screen share now, okay?
Yep. You've disabled me though.
Oh, I have to give you, oh yeah. Well, with participants, okay. Can you do it now?
I think so.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to back up a bit. Can everybody hear me okay?
Oh, sure.
Okay, I'm going to back up a bit because I want to go back to this warehouse that Stan and I stopped at because as I said, we spent about 45 minutes in there and it was just a fascinating place. And
we're back in Austria now, are we not?
I'm sorry?
Is this in Austria?
I believe it is. Well,
yeah, it's Vienna. It's just coming into Vienna.
Yeah, but just a wonderful time. You can see Stan there decked out in his hat and his scarf, and we had jerseys as well. And myself with the hat and the scarf, and just a wonderful little stop.
You've never looked so good.
Oh, there you go. But only half as good as you, Stan.
Oh, well, thanks.
There you go. So anyhow, we came to a number of crossings on that day, and this one was another beautiful one that we arrived at in the morning, and caught a ferry. I think most of the ferries cost about €1, €1.50, and just a very relaxing, enjoyable way to cross the river. This was the highway with the cycle path on the right-hand side there that led us into Budapest, and just a wonderful way to come into the city right along the Danube, and just very enjoyable, away from traffic, and took away a lot of the issues that we had earlier in the day when we were riding along some fairly narrow roads for quite a length of time. This is, again, Stan's watercolor, done back when he was a youngster in 1493. It's a woodcut from the Nuremberg Chronicles, and again, it was not done by Stan. However, interesting to get an idea of what the city might have looked like way back.
It's actually only half the city. It's actually not Budapest. It's only Buda.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
We arrived in Budapest along the, this would be, which bridge is that? That is the Margaret Bridge. And as you may know, Budapest previously consisted of 3 separate towns, Buda and Óbuda, which means Old Buda, and Pest. They were officially unified in 1873. The name of Buda and Pest is obscure, but the first settlement was built by the Celts before 1 AD. So the city has been around a long time. Following the capture of Hungary by the Red Army when they defeated the Nazis, the Soviets had military occupation of Hungary and Budapest, and that ended in 1991. So there's quite a long, somewhat tortured history to the city, but it is beautiful and just a wonderful, wonderful place to visit. And again, I think we were there, what, 3 days, which was hardly long enough to see everything that the city has to offer. This is another view of the Margaret Bridge. There's 7 pillars that go across the Danube. You can't tell it from the picture, but the bridge is almost in a V shape, with part of it going towards Margaret Island in the center of the screen there. The bridge was built in August of 1872 and opened in 1876. And it's interesting, the Margaret Bridge was the second oldest bridge in Budapest, and it was funded primarily from funds collected from tolls on the first bridge in Budapest, which is the chain bridge, which we'll see a little bit later. But it was just a spectacular entrance to the city. And again, cycle path along the side allowed us to stop and get off the bikes and take pictures, and beautiful view downriver of the Parliament buildings, and an extremely photographic spot.
I'm just really impressed by the size of those Parliament buildings. Like, I think it looks so much bigger than Parliament buildings in Ottawa, don't you think?
Well, I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just a spectacular waterfront. And we'll be spending some time around the Parliament buildings a bit later on. We found our hostel fairly easily. It was an excellent hostel. David only had, I don't know, you didn't even stay the night, did you, David?
I didn't stay the night. I had to work the next day. So
Yeah.
when it got to like early evening, I just had to take the train back to Brno.
Yeah, but beautiful hostel, wonderful staff, very nice common area, a wonderful breakfast in the morning again. and actually a little party room. Now, the rooms that we had left a little bit to be desired. They were undergoing renovation, and they were probably less than what we would have liked. We each had a separate room, so we had no complaints, and air conditioning was excellent. Actually, okay, all right. I don't know how we found this place, but it was a decrepit old building in town, and I don't know if we were actually permitted to go in there, but whoever was on guard there said, "Come on in," and we spent some time looking around. I don't know if the place is being renovated or whether it was being torn down. But then we took David to the train station, and away he went.
Well, apparently quite a few of the buildings went into quite a state of disrepair during the Soviet era, because Budapest had been a very beautiful European city before the Soviet era, and a lot of those buildings really went into a state of disrepair.
We'll get into that a bit later. The whole city was virtually destroyed by the bombs during World War II.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, okay.
But the city itself right now is just absolutely gorgeous. That St. Stephen's Cathedral and the or Basilica in the background there. And we did spend some time there, and we'll be coming back to that a bit later as well. But beautiful, beautiful buildings, a wonderful, wonderful city just to wander around. And again, in the 2 days that we spent there, we did that for the majority of our time, just trying to see as much of the city as we could in the time that we had. There is a more somber side to the city, and that's along the Danube. There's a memorial that was erected in April of 2005, and it's called the Shoes on the Bank of the Danube. And it was created to honor the memory of those who were massacred by the Arrow Cross Party in Budapest. It was a fascist Hungarian militia during the Second World War. And between 1944 and early 1945, about 3,500 people, 800 of them being Jewish, were shot into the Danube during the time of the Arrow Cross terror. The Arrow Cross was a far-right Hungarian nationalist party that formed the government in Hungary between October 44 and March 45. And believe it or not, during its short rule, 10 to 15,000 civilians were murdered outright, including a lot of Jews and Romani, that's the Gypsy people. And 80,000 people were deported from Hungary to concentration camps in Austria. Excuse me for just a sec here. The ideology of the Arrow Cross Party was similar to that of the Nazis. So nothing too good to say, not too much good to say about them. There are, I believe, 60 pairs of shoes there cast in iron. And they represent the victims' shoes that were left behind as they were shot into the Danube. So quite a somber experience, and make sure that what you're seeing now is not what it was like back in the mid-40s. The bridges in Budapest are probably the one of the highlights of the city. Budapest is divided into two parts. There is Buda on the right-hand side there that you're looking at, and Pest, no, it's the other way around. That's Pest on the right-hand side, and Buda is the spot from which this picture was taken. And since 1849, both have been joined together by a bridge. And now there are a total of 8 bridges that connect the two towns together. The history of the bridges is really quite fascinating. In 1944, a year before the end of World War II, Budapest was almost fully destroyed by British and American air raids. The city was besieged during the Battle of Budapest between December 44 and February 45, and major damage was caused by the attacking Soviet and Romanian troops as they were defeating the Germans. More than 38,000 civilians lost their lives during the conflict, and all of these bridges, and here you see 3 of them. This is the, which one's this now? Well, this one is the chained bridge. The middle one is the chain bridge. The far one is the Margaret Bridge. And the closest one is the Elizabeth Bridge. That's right. Yeah. So there are a total of 8 of them. All of them were destroyed by the Germans when they left. And that was in January of 45, near the end of the Second World War. Before the war, there were 5 bridges that connected Buda and Pest, and one by one they were reconstructed, and some of them were renamed. And since the end of the Second War, there have been 3 new bridges built over the Danube. And we didn't cross all of them, but we did cross the chain bridge quite a few times. And of course, we came in on the Margaret Bridge in the far distance. This is an original picture of the, let's see which bridge is that now.
Cambridge.
I'm sorry?
Cambridge.
No, that's the Elizabeth. That's the old Elizabeth Bridge. And when it was destroyed, they rebuilt it in a more modern form. So that created a bit of a stir. But that is the old one. And it was replaced by a more modern structure. The chain bridge, which we'll see in a minute, looked like that in 1946. And in the background, you can see the Buda Palace, the Royal Palace. It was virtually destroyed too. And actually, when the Soviets took over, they went in there and didn't like what the palace represented. They gutted the whole interior of it. So as I say, Hungary has, and Budapest in particular, have had some pretty rough years. And it's amazing that something like that can be destroyed and then rebuilt. It was basically rebuilt in 4 years. There's another picture of it. You take a look at that, and it's incredible that something like that can be cleaned up and rebuilt to look like that. And again, the chain bridge was opened in 1849, destroyed in the Second World War, and rebuilt in 1949. And actually, it was reopened November 20th, 1949, almost 100 years to the day of its original inauguration. So quite an amazing accomplishment when you consider the before and the after. Just a wonderful, wonderful experience crossing that. And again, there's dedicated pedestrian lanes for cyclists and pedestrians, much like the Blue Water Bridge, right? Not.
No lines on the Blue Water Bridge.
No. The stone lines have decorated the chain bridge since 1852, and they survived the devastation of the war. There's an interesting story about the lions. Some people complain that the lions have no tongues. And the sculptor that did them said, oh yeah, there are tongues there, but they're recessed into the mouth. So the only way to find out for sure is to climb up the monument and have a look. And we did not do that. Yeah, chain bridge is one of those bridges where you almost can't take enough pictures of it. And you get a different view from almost every angle.
Charles, leave them alone.
And that is looking downriver from the chain bridge towards the Parliament buildings and the Margaret Bridge in the distance. It is a spectacular city. We probably didn't spend enough time on the Buda side of the Danube. We did cross the chain bridge, actually the Pest side, right? We did cross the chain bridge and spent a couple hours around the Buda Castle. It's a historical castle, palace complex of the Hungarian kings in Budapest, and dates back to 1265. Today, most of the site is a National Gallery and a history museum. The castle is part of the Budapest World Heritage Site, and the original palace was ruined during World War II, as you saw in that previous picture. And when Hungary was captured from Nazi Germany by the Red Army, the Soviet military occupation, which ended only in 1991, didn't much like the palace and ransacked the whole interior and basically destroyed the inside of the building. That is the entrance up to the upper area. And again, another spot that we didn't spend nearly enough time on is the Fisherman's Bastion. It overlooks the Danube, and that's where the Fishermen's Guild built their defense walls in the Middle Ages. And it's a collection of towers, courtyards, colonnades, built between 1895 and 1902, and a very popular spot, spectacular views over the city, and an equestrian statue of Saint Stephen, the first king of Hungary. And there he is, immovable on his horse. Again, a spectacular spot. And I don't think we spent enough time there, Stan, did we?
No, I don't think so.
No. But again, beautiful views from the hilltop looking out over the Danube and the chain bridge and the Parliament buildings in the background. This bridge is, again, one that you can see from on top of the Palace Hill. And that one is the Liberty Bridge. And the Liberty Bridge is the shortest bridge in Budapest. It was originally named the Franz Joseph Bridge after the emperor. It was built between 1894 and 1896. And it was opened in the presence of Franz Joseph. The top four masts up here, you can't see them too well, are decorated with large bronze statues of a mythological falcon-like bird of prey called the turul, T-U-R-U-L. And that bird is prominent in ancient Greek mythology. Not sure who the statue is here. Again, an extremely photogenic area. And from there, either the next day, I'm sure it was the next day, we did get to the Parliament building. Didn't get inside, which would have been nice to do. But Budapest was united from the three cities in 1873, and 7 years later, so around 1880, the decision was made to establish a new representative parliament building. And that building was constructed in 1885. And well, it started in 1885 and inaugurated in 1896. It wasn't fully completed until 1890 or until 1904. Unfortunately, the architect went blind and then died before its completion. So he did not live to see what he had constructed. There were about 100,000 people that were involved in the construction. If you count the bricks, which I'm sure you might do in a slow day, there's 40 million of them. 500,000 precious stones and 40 kilograms of gold were used in the construction. And today the government only uses a small portion of the building for their business. And at the time that we were there, I had no idea who this fine person was. Do you know, Stan?
No, I don't.
No, that is a fellow by the name of Gyula, Gyula Andrásy. And Gyula Andrásy was a Hungarian statesman. He served as Prime Minister of Hungary for 4 years, from 1867 to 1871, and then was Foreign Minister of Austria-Hungary for the next 8 years. And his foreign policy led to expanding of the Austrian-Hungary Empire into Southeast Europe. So again, somebody that I had no information on at the time. The grounds are beautiful. We had excellent weather while we were there, and it was just a very pleasurable place to walk around and relax. Somebody is taking a photo op here, obviously. I never cease to be impressed with the quality of the stonework and the expertise that has gone into construction of something like this. Stan and I spent one morning bright and early heading off to the Hungarian National Museum, and it was founded in 1802. It's the National Museum of History, Art, and Archaeology in Hungary. And Stan might feel a little bit different. I was a little bit disappointed. And I don't think we were too taken by whatever we saw inside. Were we, Stan?
No, not overly.
No.
It was in front of it. There was something in front of it that caught my attention, though. Remember that?
Well,
that car?
Aren't you wonderful? You're leading right into the next. There you go. So, can you tell us anything about that, Stanley?
Well, it's a Trabant, a two-cylinder car made in the Soviet era. I think primarily made in East Germany, but maybe in Hungary as well. But there are apparently some of them are still being driven.
And it's an East German car.
Do you know who this fella is?
He's got, let's say he's got some kind of a mustache.
Was a
Not
poet.
his name, and again, this is after the fact that you find all this stuff out, but his name is Janos Arani,
Oh,
as
Oh,
indicated
okay.
there.
well, I see
He
what
was
you're-
he was born in 1817. He's a Hungarian poet, writer, translator, and journalist. And fascinating enough, he's often said to be the Shakespeare of ballads. And he wrote more than 102 ballads that have been translated into over 50 languages. One of them is probably English, although I have not read any of his works, unfortunately. One of his major works is a narrative poem called, I'm not even going to be able to pronounce it, Toldi Zelme? Not sure, but anyhow, the two bronze figures here, one on one side and one hidden over in the other side, are the hero and the heroine of the Toldi poem. And this fine fella is Miklos Toldi. He is a legendary strong man, legendary Hungarian hero, and Janos's most famous trilogy is based on this fella and his true love, who is hiding on the other side of the statue. There she is. And that is Peroska Rozgoni. Peroska Rozgoni. So if anybody wants to look up their Hungarian literature history, look up Janos Arani, and it would be interesting to read that particular poem. Hopefully it's in English. I'm sure it would be. Our last stop was at St. Stephen's Cathedral. I think we were in there a couple times as well. Another fascinating structure. It's really a Roman Catholic basilica, and it's named in honor of Stephen, the first king of Hungary, who lived between 975 and 1038. An interesting story on the creation or the building of the cathedral commenced in 1851, and the inauguration took place in 1906, attended by the Emperor Franz Joseph. During its construction in 1868, the dome collapsed, and the rebuilding had to start almost from scratch, which is why the inauguration ceremony took place as late as 1906. The other thing too, the dome collapsed in 1868, and a year earlier than that, the architect who had drafted the original plans and supervised the construction, and who would have been held responsible these days for the collapse of the dome, died in 1867, 1 year before the dome collapsed. And so another architect by the name of Ybl, YBL, took over the supervision of the construction and drafted new plans. Unfortunately, he didn't fare much better, and he didn't live to see the completion of the basilica either. He passed away in 1891, and the inauguration ceremony didn't take place till 1906. So somewhat of a checkered history as far as the architects are concerned, but a beautiful, beautiful building, and one of the major attractions in Budapest. I'm not sure what day of the week, Stan, you would probably know what day of the week we were there, but I always feel that it would be just a wonderful experience to be inside a church of this grandeur when there's a service going on.
Yeah, I think it was probably Thursday that we were here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Beautiful artwork. And that basically concluded the short time that we had in Budapest. Stan and I spent the last night wandering through one of the underground concourses, looking for some traditional goulash, Hungarian goulash. And we did find some, didn't we?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Quite
and,
lovely.
that basically concluded our time in Budapest. We didn't have the time that we would have liked to have had to visit some of the other monuments. In particular, there's the Heroes Square, which would have been a very interesting walk for us, but we didn't have a chance to do that. Numerous other things within the city that would have been well worth spending another 3 or 4 days there easily. So anyhow, Stanley, back to you.
Okay, well, thanks very much, Alan. Thanks for getting all that, digging up all that information on many of the buildings and structures that we saw there. Really made the history.
You know, it would be interesting. It would have been interesting if we had had the time to do the research on these things while we were there.
Yeah, that would have. Yeah, then you could go back and look for specific things. But well, after a few days in Budapest, we wanted to go to Brno and see and spend some time with David. David had gone back to Brno a few days earlier, so we David had arranged train transportation for us to go to Brno, Czech Republic, where David and Sharka live. And we enjoyed a few days there, enjoying their hospitality and some bike rides in the area around Brno. And then it was time to return to Canada. David was really helpful in arranging transportation for us. We took an evening train to Vienna and then a different night train to Zurich. That was quite a long train ride. We had to get back to Zurich because we had purchased round trips, airfare. So it was very enjoyable passing through the mountains of Switzerland as the sun was rising. And but we had left our bikes behind with David. So now there is good reason to go back to Brno and go back to the Danube River and continue the rest of the way to the Black Sea. I was hoping to do that last year, but COVID came along. So